You know, the gay community, and if that was ever a misnomer, I don't know what is, they can call me homophobic, but Ed Bradley's earring is not very becoming.
Ed Bradley's now wearing an earring?
He was wearing an earring a few shows ago, and I really, though I consider myself of the younger generation, something about a man wearing an earring is just not
you know, who gave the signal? All of a sudden, ponytails, these jerks started popping up with ponytails, wearing earrings. What happened? Who gave the signal?
I don't know, Bob. Listen,
we are going to be doing a fundraising program for the Leukemia Society of America. And Lynn Samuels is going to join me. Who knows? Maybe I'll make Lynn my permanent partner. Would you like that? Maybe tomorrow we should have a little poll. Should I continue doing a single as I've done all my life, or should I take a partner? Should I have Lynn be my Robin? I don't know if she can laugh like that. Oh, Howard. Anyway.
And he didn't abandon them or anything. And when I think of so many people who are saying, send these Haitians back, I'm just thinking of this
What, are
man.
they all saints? Are you trying to tell me they're all saints like this guy was?
No, I'm not saying they're all saints, but I'm saying that I think a lot of people have fear of a lot of the fear that exists between blacks and whites, and a lot of people are afraid of immigration, and they may have legitimate reasons for wanting to ensure that the borders are controlled.
Why not? I mean, is it so unusual for a nation to control its borders?
Well, in this particular instance, I do think that the situation in Haiti is very bad, and I think it's very unfeeling. And I'm just saying that on a
Stephen, you're such a good boy. If you have a
violin
violin there, can we play a violin for you?
No. I'm not trying to. I'm just saying let people. If we ever want to get beyond.
You want to tell everybody where you live so they can.
I live in Manhattan.
No. I mean, you know, your address and everything, so they can come by and put flowers on your doorstep.
No, I'm not asking for that.
Okay.
I just want to make one more point that I think people, blacks and whites, have to think about being compassionate.
Oh my gosh, blacks and whites have to think about.
That's reconciliation. That kind of reconciliation is the only thing that will help bring an end to a lot of the things that are going on in the city and in the country.
I never heard that before.
Yes.
Gee.
And I think this man should be made a saint.
Okay.
And we should think
are you
people of Haiti who are suffering.
Are you Catholic, Stephen?
I am a Catholic, and I also study other religions as well. And I believe they all come down to having love.
Well, that's good. Why don't you go to the priesthood, Stephen?
Well, I'm not really interested in that as a profession. But
I see. What do you do as a profession?
Right now, I work as a clerical worker in a child abuse agency.
You're probably a nice guy. Naive, but nice.
I am naive, but sometimes it takes naivete to change the world.
Yeah, right, Stephen.
But I'm realistic also, Bob.
Thank you. Disadvantaged groups. Disadvantaged groups. I guess this is a worldwide infection we have here. Disadvantaged groups. How do you determine what's a disadvantaged group?
Well, the way that our Constitution is structured, it protects collective rights, and it has specific protections for groups that are disadvantaged. It enumerates what those groups are.
No, what are they? Tell me what they are up there in Canada.
Well, it includes women. It includes people.
How are women disadvantaged? How are women disadvantaged?
How are women disadvantaged by pornography? Is that what you're asking me?
No, you use the term disadvantaged groups. And you said women were one of the subcategories of disadvantaged people. And I wondered why they are a disadvantaged group.
Why women are disadvantaged?
Yeah, right.
It seems like such an incredible question. I mean,
no, it's not an incredible question. Here you are, you're talking to me on the radio, and I introduce you with your credentials. Are you disadvantaged?
I think that I'm a woman of extraordinary privilege, but I'm also...
What do you mean privilege? Maybe you had some talent. Maybe you did some studying. Maybe you worked to become a law professor. I don't think anybody just gave it to you and said, hey, you're privileged, we're going to give it to you.
I think that I'm a lucky exception.
Oh, boy. Well, listen, you're not going to move here to the United States, are you, Ms. Busby?
No, I lived in New York for a year, and that was enough. Thank you very much.
That was enough. Ah, well, you know, we're disadvantaged here in New York.
Well, I've seen Times Square, and I think that that is a significant disadvantage, yeah.
Are you making it a little tougher for people to enter Canada? I know for a long time you had the floodgates open, and then you began to pay the price for that. Are you tightening things up a bit?
Well, in terms of what materials can come into Canada?
No, the people.
There's always been free access to Canada by American citizens.
You don't have any quotas, Ms. Busby? You don't have any quotas?
Quotas, what, for American citizens?
No. Do you have a number each year? 200,000, 400,000? Or do you have no number?
Of people that can immigrate to Canada?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, certainly. As with all Western democracies, there's a limit on the number of people that can immigrate to this country in a given year.
But for a while there, you seem to be having more people come in than are now coming in at present. Isn't that right?
Well, we have a very liberal refugee law, so
everybody's a refugee.
Not everyone's a refugee. No, most people who immigrate to Canada immigrate in a straight immigration category. But we have a disproportionate number of people who claim refugee status in Canada because the process here is much, much less onerous than it is, for example, in the United States.
Well, maybe it's safer for you to take that viewpoint because Canada is so climatically inhospitable, so cold. We appreciate you coming to the telephone. Thank you for speaking with us.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
All right, a very nice person, but you see what we're up against. Sanity's losing out all over. Political correctness, it's devastating. The stormtroopers are north of the border as well as south of the border. By the way,
I'd like to make a comment. No cursing or nothing like that.
Well, of course you're not going to curse or nothing like that. Of course not.
Okay.
This is a radio program.
Yes. I think you're very racist and prejudiced, but I listen to you because you're a very funny guy. That's it.
That's it?
Yes. Get off my phone.
Very good, Ed. You can fill in for me sometime, okay?
All right.
All right. They're sick out there. They're getting sicker. How pathetic. How pathetic. No, I've never gone to one of them.
The depths of
but I understand from Harry Hazarai.
Harry Hazarai?
Yes.
Okay.
He's the only friend Franklin Steinfeld has. He tells me, he says, look, if you like rubbing against a lot of other guys, then you go. He says, because everybody's jammed in together. You pay $50 just to sit there and watch a pair of boobs jiggle around. That's what he said.
Well, I've been, frequenting a couple of these places for a while, and I tell you, the girls, they enjoy what they do. They make tons of money. Most of it's tax-free. They're happy. A lot of them are illegal aliens.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but that's, like par for the course. What else are you going to do, But, they have fun what they do, And,
well, why do you go? What fun do you get out of it? I'm not saying this
It's the last form of true burlesque in
Are you an
city.
expert on true burlesque?
Well, where else is
that is
burlesque
not true.
these
No,
days?
that
Where
is
is burlesque these days?
You want burlesque?
Yeah. Where is burlesque entertainment?
I thought you just wanted to get inspired a little bit.
No.
You don't want to get inspired, huh?
I go for laugh. It's fun.
Laugh. The girl is dancing and you laugh?
Sure.
You're going to give her a complex. She might think you're laughing at her figure. WABC, what a phony.
In any event, I was listening the other morning to that cerebral dead spot that you have between 9 and 11. And I'm not going to tell you that I was surprised by what I heard, but it just never ceases to amaze me. The subject of the shooting over at the high school came on, and the first comment was the rhetorical question, so you want to cut social spending? So you want to cut daycare? And I couldn't take too much of that, because I don't think that shooting had anything to do with lack of social services in the city of New York.
Absolutely not.
And so I flipped up the dial to the Jeffries channel, shall we say, because I don't want to give them any more publicity than that.
You mean Radio Uganda?
Yes, that's the one. And were they talking about how this situation could have been avoided? Were they talking about how they could prevent it in the future? No, the topic of discussion at that time was how much information Aristotle had learned when he studied under Imhotep, who happened to be a black man. And once again, I'm not going to tell you that I was amazed, but there is a certain entertainment value, I guess, there for some.
Well, these are people, you've got to remember, the people that you hear on Radio Uganda are people who betray a great sense of inferiority. They truly feel inferior. They really resent what they are. Instead of being proud of what they are and saying, hey, look, this is what we are. And the fact that our ancestors did not contribute very much to science, to the arts, to all the other enterprises that have made this world what it is no fault of ours. We are alive and well now, and we are going to achieve things. And we are going to be proud of ourselves. Instead of doing that, as Thomas Sowell suggests they do, they try to reconstruct history so that somehow that will make them feel a little better about themselves.
That's very true.
Fairy tales, absolute fairy tales.
Yeah, it's very true. And the sad thing is that I've traveled all across this country, and I've lived in Houston, Texas, which, by the way, just when I left Houston for Indianapolis, our wonderful mayor, Catherine Tootsie Whitmire, had just given us a new police chief that had a protective coating, so to speak, and I understand that you're now suffering under the same individual.
Well, that's right. At least he doesn't do anything, so you can't get mad at him. That's his...
Well, he's never there.
Well, that's right. It's Lee, I'm not in town, Brown, and he has two virtues. One, the protective coating, of course, and two, the fact that he's never around, so how can you get mad at anybody who's never around?
Well, that's true. But what I was getting at is I've heard this, I guess it's a Radio Uganda network, because I've heard the same thing in Houston, and this was 3 and 4 years ago.
Now, all of a sudden, they want us to believe that they are the founders of all the great mathematic sciences, calculus, algebra, geometry, trigonometry. All of a sudden, they want to... Well, if that's the case, then their race must be doing great in school. Their race must be the leading mathematicians. Oh, I'm sorry, they aren't. The Asians, and pardon the expression, the Caucasians are. Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Grant Shaw on WABC. Jimmy calling from Brooklyn.
Good afternoon, Mr. Grant. I have in my hand a copy of an invitation from the Jewish Community Relations Council of New York. It's inviting whoever they send this invitation to, it's inviting them to honor the Chinese Communist ambassador to celebrate Chinese New Year. Now, this caused great distress among Chinese Americans and other concerned people.
How do you know?
Because I work with the Chinese, and that's where I got this information from. And but there's no Chinese that are accusing the Jewish Community Relations Council of being anti-Chinese. So I'm trying to point out that somebody could do something completely ignorant or make a big mistake, such as Buchanan may make. And so whereas Buchanan is called anti-Semitic by taking stances that are not exactly in line with the Jewish sentiment, the Jewish group here did something that's not in line with the Chinese-American sentiment. So I'm trying to say that people just sometimes make completely stupid mistakes and do not have any other intentions.
So what is the mistake? What is the mistake Buchanan made?
Well, no, I'm not saying he made a mistake.
What is the mistake the people made in sending out the invitations?
Because the Jewish Community Relations Council is supposed to be a civic group, and they're honoring a foreign communist representative.
Well, now he's being honored not because he's a communist. He's being honored because of his position in the world's most populous country. We do have diplomatic relations with that country. They are a member of the United Nations.
I understand that.
Like it or not, they're here to stay. Hopefully, within our lifetime, we'll see the loosening of the hold that the Deng Xiaoping crowd has on the people.
Oh, I agree with that, but what I'm trying to point out is to the...
I know what you're trying to point out. You're trying to make a very weak analogy. That's what you're trying to do.
I'm trying to say that the Chinese people in New York consider this government
let the Chinese people speak for themselves. I don't think Jimmy of Brooklyn is a spokesman for the Chinese population of New York.
Well, can I speak as an American citizen that this looks very like an act of insensitivity?
All right, if you want to approach it from your own personal observation, but don't try to palm off on this audience and me that you are the spokesman.
I never said I was a spokesman.
Well, you said many Chinese American. How many Chinese have told you, Jimmy, we don't like this? Huh? How many told you that?
Plenty.
How many?
Plenty in Chinatown.
How many? What do you do? What do you do? What do you do in Chinatown anyway? Deliver laundry?
No, I don't deliver laundry. I do a lot of work for democracy.
What do you do in Chinatown, Jimmy?
I do a lot of work.
What do you do, Jimmy?
Well, if you let me say, I'll
specifically, what do you do? Don't give me this. I do a lot of work for democracy. What do you do? Hand out John Birch?
No, I don't work with any groups like that. I stay away from any groups like that because of their reputation.
What do you hand out? Handbills?
I go. I make occasionally I make speeches among the Chinese.
Really?
In the Chinatown
you speak
community.
Chinese, Jimmy?
No, I don't. But they speak English. They're in America.
Yeah, really? They understand you, Jimmy?
They usually do. They're proud American citizens, and
somehow or other, you just don't sound like their appointed spokesman.
I never said I was their appointed spokesman.
Well, you're calling the Bob Grant Show trying to sound like they're appointed a spokesman.
No, I just stated a fact here. I'm holding it in my hand.
What
if you'd like
fact?
to mail you a copy.
I'm not disputing the invitation. I'm not disputing the
So I'm
fact that
saying,
they're honoring this guy?
This could be interpreted the wrong way, is what I'm saying. I don't support Patrick Buchanan either, because I support the state of Israel.
I didn't know your call was about Buchanan. All right, Jimmy. Guess what, Jimmy? I'll let you off easy. I'll just thank you for the call.
All right, thank you.
Hey.
I happened to catch you speak to someone, and I couldn't catch whether you said you are for or against the death penalty.
How long have you listened to me, Joyce?
I've been listening to you, I think, this past 6 or 8 months.
All right, I guess.
And I may have missed your opinion at the time. I would like to know pro and con, or why you feel the way you do, and how do you feel.
All right.
I vacillate, and I'm trying to really get to one opinion even of my own, and I can't reach it.
Well, I don't want you to form your opinion based on mine, but my opinion is I am pro-death penalty. I'm for the death penalty.
Let me ask you one little question. What do you think? I mean, I also, as I say, I vacillate. Putting them in and throwing away the key so that if they're visitors or friends or relatives, no person.
Well, why? Wait a minute. What is the purpose? Say, take Jeffrey Dahmer for example.
Yeah.
What is the purpose in keeping? Well, tell me. What is the purpose in keeping him alive?
I don't know.
Why should the good people of Wisconsin have to pay $2,400 a month to keep this monster alive for Lord knows how many years? I mean, what value? How is society being served? Thank you, Joyce.
It's a hard choice. Thanks a lot.
It's not a hard choice at all, for heaven's sake.
It just really bothered me. One other thing, Bob, did you happen to catch the latest snips between D'Amato and Cuomo?
Yeah, let me tell you this. Il Supremo's a big bully, but he's not going to scare off Al D'Amato.
Oh, I mean, what D'Amato mentioned something about welfare review, and Cuomo turns right around and says, gee, with all the problems we have, with all this stuff, what's the thing you attack? Pregnant, poor women.
Yeah, well, that's the way Il Supremo argues. Il Supremo is a real sleaze bag, a real AAA sleaze. Hey, wait a minute. He might be listening. Excuse me, Mark. I don't mean to be rude. Il Supremo, Mario, tu sei proprio uno sfaccimm. Okay, I feel better.
Well, good afternoon, Bob Grant.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure to be able to speak with you finally. I've been trying for a few days to get through, and now I finally made it. Before I get into my so-called planned discussion, after listening to your introductory comments, I think my blood pressure went up about 50 points. I'm so thoroughly in accord with every damn thing that you said there. And my personal feeling, and I'm sure there are many other people involved, hopefully, we're in serious trouble in this country. I think we're on our way down the road, unless something is done, something drastic is done very shortly to make a complete change. This idea of getting everyone down there out of the House and in the Senate, wonderful if it could only happen.
Well, thank you very much.
Now, to get back to what I had planned to talk about.
You had something else to talk about.
Yes, that was
I despise when people get sidetracked and waste time talking about something they didn't call about.
Oh, I'm very sorry. I'm sorry to... All right, I wanted to talk about...
What's on your mind, Bob?
What's on my mind is the problem in the school system today, the way I saw our illustrious, funny-looking mayor and his band of idiots, yesterday, claiming that, we got to have more gun control, and that fool congressman from Brooklyn, I can't even remember his name, I think it might have been Adolphus Towns, is standing there saying he's going to introduce a bill in Congress that's going to ban all guns from the United States, that's going to abolish the Sixth Amendment, Don't these people realize that they do not take responsibility for themselves or their own people? They turn around, they point the finger at everybody else instead of saying, okay, we deserve the blame, we'll accept the blame, we'll try to correct it. But no, they don't have the guts to stand up and say that. They always got to blame it on someone else.
If it was...
never their fault. They used to blame Reagan for being Teflon and the guy for being Teflon. These people think they were born Teflon.
If Khalil Sumter were white, they wouldn't be blaming guns. They'd be blaming racism. They'd be blaming the system.
Mm-hmm.
They'd be blaming every white person that ever drew a breath.
Very, very true.
But since Khalil Sumter is black, they don't want to blame Khalil Sumter. They don't want to blame the fact that he was threatened by these other guys that he killed.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to blame anything involving them. So they blame the gun, an inanimate object.
And no one even realizes that. One kid is 16 who died. The other one is 17. They're both freshmen in high school at 16 and 17. On top of that,
both of them, or one of them, served time in Spofford for being a juvenile delinquent.
Yeah, 6 months.
And not to belabor the subject, but a couple weeks ago, some 15-year-old boy walked up to some other men on the street, or boys on the street, and this was like at 3 in the morning. He was shot dead, and the parents were bemoaning the fact of how dangerous the streets are. And I said, geez, that's pretty awful. And I looked, and I said, wait a minute. 3 o'clock in the morning. This kid was so good, so wonderful. What the hell was he doing on a Valentine's Day at 3 o'clock in the morning at 15 years old?
Why don't they just have one big giant shootout and be done with it?
Hey, nuke them till they glow. That's what I think.
Bob, I appreciate your call. Thank you.
You got it.
Bob, when that half-baked tamale lit up that drug market in the Bronx called a social club last April because he had a fight with his girlfriend.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to notice the cadence that John of Staten Island uses. See if it isn't slightly reminiscent of his icon, his mentor.
Thank you. David Dinkins shifted the blame then and came out slashing with left-wing razor blades and blamed it on America and the white owners instead of that thug who set the fire. Then when Brian Watkins was stabbed to death, he said it was because we have too many guns, whatever that has to do with a stabbing. But he shifted the blame again. Now with the shooting of the high school students, who inevitably turn out to be thugs themselves, he says, it's not the people, it's the guns, shifting the blame again. I guess the guns grow legs, but David Dinkins has an obvious philosophy, Bob. When blacks are at fault, the truth will never be told by David Dinkins. He knows that if he didn't find something or someone else to blame for these outrages occurring all over this city, that he would constantly have to chastise minorities, and that would do two things. It would validate white people's fear and claims that blacks are responsible for the deteriorating crime situation in this city, and it would make David Dinkins a Tom and a traitor for criticizing the brothers so often. There's absolutely nothing wrong with our schools, Bob, except that we now have a bunch of thugs in these schools who look to earn their defiance diplomas, and they're just occupying spaces where some fresh air ought to be.
All right. Very good, John. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, we should have done it Frank style. Thank you. All right, very cool. Now, George is being naive, however, if he suggests that ethnocentricity, we didn't touch on that. If I had time, you know, they saddle me with traffic reports and news inserts and all this other garbage that the audience doesn't tune in to the Bob Grant Show to hear, but they saddle me with all this stuff. If I had time, I was going to ask him about this ethnocentricity, this multiculturalism. And I think this is really what is disturbing Pat Buchanan, as it disturbs any thinking person.
Well, this Congressman Major Owens, I wonder if this guy's ever taken a civics class in his life. I mean, this guy's a real brain. All of this reaction over the shooting in the high school, he said, well, he's going to outlaw guns. He's going to repeal the Sixth Amendment. Well, there's one problem with that. The Sixth Amendment has nothing to do with guns.
No,
it has to do with fair trial.
Yeah, the Second Amendment.
That
shows you what... That shows you he's got the only qualification he needs in the 12th district, and that, of course, is that pigmentation. Look, his constituents don't know any more than he does, but he could say, I'm of the people, because I don't know more than the people. I'm just as dumb as they are.
Right.
They is, excuse me.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah. Did you read that editorial in the New York Times about Willie Horton?
Yes, of course. It was you know, they've got an obsession with Willie Horton.
They want to make a verb out of it, or an adjective.
That's right.
I mean, this is the most ridiculous. The only thing they got right is one Willie Horton's enough. Yeah, one guy, one murderer gets out of jail and commits rape. Yeah, one of that's enough. But you can't criticize Cuomo. You can't criticize Dukakis. I mean, New York City, 30 years ago, there were 200 murders. Today, there are 2,000.
Hey, listen, the New York Times is becoming more sleazy all the time.
It's ridiculous.
Not only are they sleazy when it comes to their editorial policy, their deliveries are getting worse and worse. Things to understand is that when a person is a non-candidate, then he can sound very appealing. Remember, he won a very close election, really, against an absolute clown that the Republicans nominated. A goofball by the name of Pierre Renfray that had no business running for anything. The only job I could see for him would be as a deputy mayor to the attendant.
When Quayle was here last week, he said that the liberal vision of a welfare state hasn't worked in New York. In response, Cuomo said that the vice president's comments were too quote-unquote stupid to justify comment. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that's a sleazy way of Il Supremo trying to make a point. He couldn't really answer the debate. I mean, he couldn't really answer the question and say, well, no, that isn't true because so-and-so. So he used an old trick. When you know the other guy is right, you say, his argument is so stupid, it's really, there's really no point in answering. I think Dan Quayle was absolutely right. All he's pointing out is that New York is a microcosm, is an example of the welfare state gone amok.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Cuomo is a real confrontational, tough guy, isn't he?
I think he is one of the most supercilious, devious, fake, phony frauds in the country. As a matter of fact, would you excuse me just a minute, Wayne? I know he listens to the program almost every day, or at least a portion of it. And just in case you're listening out there, Il Supremo, tu sei proprio no sfaccimm. Okay, I feel better. Well, they keep talking about it. They keep talking about a deal. He's supposed to have met with the junta that threw him out, and they're supposed to be working out conditions for his return. If he does come back, he may very well just be a figurehead, but what's there to lose anyway? What did Haiti have before Aristide? What does Haiti have after Aristide? Haiti doesn't. The people in Haiti don't have to worry, though. If they're patient enough, little by little, they'll all be here in the United States, and then Haiti will be totally empty, and the people from the Dominican Republic, which shares the island of Hispaniola, can say, "Hey, look, the whole island is ours now. All the Haitians are gone."
So this could have been the best thing that happened for them was that the junta took over, because that's their first chance.
Yeah.
Boom, that's our chance. Let's run quick to the United
But
States.
unfortunately, the Coast Guard is stupid. They keep picking them up. Now, don't laugh. Don't pick them up. Word would get back to Haiti. Hey, the Coast Guard doesn't pick you up, so people would stop going in those boats.
Yeah. I happen to have a friend who was involved in that. He was a dwarf. He was never happier. He never made more money.
What, the dwarf?
Yeah, he was a happy man. You know, I mean...
He liked being thrown through the air.
He was like, to him, what's the difference between that and wrestling?
But what if a guy dropped him?
Well, he got paid well, and he was very happy, but people got to get in your face. You understand? All these people that have these little things, they want to control, who's going to have the...
I don't know. I don't like that dwarf throwing. Something about it repelled me, really. I got to tell you the truth.
He was happy.
He was happy.
He made a great living. The guy was making $1,500 a week. Where was he going to make that?
But let me ask you this. What good is it for a dwarf to make all that money? How can he enjoy himself?
He had a custom-made car, a custom-made van.
Yeah, but a custom-made broad?
Whatever, maybe.
Okay,
There's little women.
Yeah, I suppose.
The point is, Bob,
as a matter of fact, there was a play, Little Women, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, but what? An apology, or somewhat of an apology for the joke about the bomb.
Yeah, that was no joke. That was, Ernest Hollings is a very mean man. He really is.
Yeah, that was wrong, and it just doesn't do anything to help develop relationships between the countries.
I mean, when he talks about it being tested in Japan, what he's talking about wiping out a couple of 100,000 people.
Right.
And although I supported Harry Truman's decision to do that, and I think it was correct, it's nothing to make a joke about.
Right, especially at this point in time.
Citizens. I've noticed that this term is unique in that it's the only one of these politically correct euphemisms that I can think of that has fewer syllables than the original term, which was more accurate. In other words, most of these euphemisms add syllables. For example, short, one syllable becomes vertically disadvantaged.
Yep.
8-syllable. Black, one syllable becomes African American, 7 syllables.
Yeah.
So most of them add.
Okay.
Hey, Bob. I've also noticed that the phrase a fake, a phony, and a fraud, if you, for the sake of this, of humor, spell phony, F-O-N-E-Y, the 3 words are then in alphabetical order.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mike.
Bye, Bob.
Mike is up there thinking in Fort Lee. WABC, hello.
Yes, I'm thinking as well, and I believe that the previous caller that said that Kahane, that organization, is right, is absolutely right. The Arabs should be expelled from Israel, and Mayor Kahane's son should come to power. Shimon Peres and Rabin are are the leftists, which are supported by rightists here in America for some reason, and that makes strange bedfellows.
Why don't you make Aliyah, Theodore?
As a matter of fact, I am in May. I'm moving to Tapuach, the settlement where Kahane Chai.
I don't believe you.
By Mayor Kahane.
I don't believe you.
I swear to God, I'll give you the references and show you the people that I have set up, made all the arrangements with at the Sachnut.
Afnor Simchas.
Yeah, well, don't give me that phony Yiddish garbage.
That's phony Yiddish? That's real Yiddish.
My anti-Zionist pal before. You pro-ass pal.
That's real Yiddish.
I'm not fooled by your Yiddish. I know you're an anti-Semite and hate Israel. You hate Israel. You're an anti-Semite. You know why you do? As much as you laugh, you really do. You know why? Because of your, like a Republican big oil pro-Arab pal, George Bush and Jim Baker, you have self-interest in mind. Money, Bob. That's why.
Oh, how absurd! How absurd! One day I'm accused of taking money from Israel as an Israeli agent. Now I'm taking Arab money. Vangula Tutiguan. Roy. Is the NAACP that intimidating down there that people make allowances?
For the NAACP?
Yeah.
I don't know. I really cannot speak to that personally. My role is as an advocate for my client.
Now, you are court appointed, are you?
Absolutely not.
No. Oh, well, who hired you?
Who am I speaking with?
This is Bob Grant. Why do you ask who are you speaking with?
Well, I'm kind of amazed at some of your questions.
Which ones? Tell me the questions that amaze you.
You know, who hired me? I'm not going to give you all of that kind of information.
Well, it's a fair question. Mr. Butler seems to be indigent. I wasn't aware that...
Mr. Butler is not indigent. I think you have a lot of misconceptions, and I really don't have the time to educate you, Mr. Grant.
Well, you know something, Clyde? With that, she hung up on me. You got to figure any broad named Clyde who's got to go through life with a chip on her shoulder. Mr. Grant. Hello, Tony.
Ciao, paisan.
What's on your mind?
The liberals in this country have destroyed the criminal justice system, and I mean it, because the next time somebody puts a gun in their face and is ready about to pull that trigger, they would wish there was a tougher law. Bob, I'm not kidding. They can stop it. You get caught with an illegal gun, you get executed. Never mind going to jail. Should be that hot of an item. You steal a car, they sever your hands. My grandfather told me a couple of years ago, I remember, he was from Sorrento, Italy many years ago.
I don't want people severed the...
If they severed your hands, half the car rate insurance will go down.
Then they'd be on welfare because they would be handicapped.
Well, then it'll create more jobs.
Hey, look, Tony.
It has to be tougher.
Tony, guys like you turn me off, and I'll tell you why. You're just talking.
Stop it, Chief. That's fun.
Wait a minute.
I'm your bum. I thought
all of a sudden I'm a bum.
Be quiet, you.
All of a sudden I'm a bum.
Shut up. You're getting me sick now.
What a gavone. My gosh. There's a greaseball to end all greaseballs. Kenny, you're on WABC. Hello.
Hello, Bob.
Oh, Kenny, I can't take you. I can't take Kenny today. Not after... Another time, Kenny.
Complain about our wonderful telephone company. You know, they got you by the bells.
Yeah, go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, here we go again.
All right, go ahead, Tom.
You want to pay for my operation?
On what, Tom?
Let's see. The ID. You're familiar with that, right?
Caller ID, yes.
Isn't that a wonderful new gadget they created?
What about it?
Well, you have it on as a telephone number yourself at home, right?
What about the ID? What's your problem?
You call up a place, your number comes on the screen.
So what?
So they call you back and they can harass you. And so
cut it out. They don't harass you.
Yes, they do.
I think caller ID is great. As a matter of fact, we tripped up some real skunks with our caller ID not too long ago.
Well, they're invading my privacy.
All right, then you better hang up then. You want your privacy invaded, you jerk. Robert, you're on WABC. Hello.
Yeah, hi, Bob. Bob?
He thought he was so clever, they've got you by the bells. Yeah, what is it, Robert?
Bob, I think I know why there's a rise in the use of nitrous oxide. It's because marijuana is not available anymore. They've done such...
What do you mean not available?
Oh, it's $300 an ounce.
In spite of all the homegrown grass?
It's very rare. It's so hard to find any grass, in spite of what you hear.
Really?
Sure, it's $300 an ounce.
How do you know it's so hard to find?
Because I'm looking for it. No, you can't find it.
You would smoke it if you found it?
I've been smoking it for 27 years. with absolutely no ill effects whatsoever.
How do you know? How do you know there's no ill effects? I mean, how can you be sure?
Well, Bob, let's put it this way. There's none I can tell. I seem to be in pretty good health.
Well, you're telling me it has no effect on you?
No, absolutely none.
Well, then why do you use it?
Same reason I have sex. It feels good.
Oh, it feels good. In what way does it feel good?
It feels good.
No, in what way?
I can't describe an orgasm.
Yeah, but you see, sex is a natural thing.
So is marijuana. It grows in my backyard if I...
Is smoking natural? Is the act of smoking anything natural?
Well, let's put it this way. You don't have to smoke marijuana.
Wait, is smoking natural?
No, it isn't, but you don't have to smoke marijuana.
Yeah, okay. You know something, Mike? I have no use for guys like you. I think you're scum.
I have no use for you either.
All right, well, then why call me? Guy has no use for me, then why call? How stupid. Can you believe it? People do that all the time. I have no use for you. Well, then why do you call? Mike of Long Branch. Let's make him persona non grata. Barbara.
Hi, Bob. Second time to call you, but a question for you. I saw JFK, and I don't know whether it was totally correct or not, but it gave me something to think about. And one of the thoughts was, if somebody is a wild card candidate like a Jerry Brown, and they do get into office because people vote them in, what happens to somebody like that? If they're not establishment and they're not pro-big business.
Well, Kennedy was establishment. Kennedy was very popular with business when he initiated the tax cut. So if what you're saying is you think that maybe somehow or other he was not establishment, and therefore if you're not establishment you get assassinated, you're wrong.
Well, then what happens to somebody like Jerry Brown
What happens to Jerry Brown? Well, hopefully, if he gets elected president, be able to convince the Congress to pass his flat tax bill.
You know, it's amazing for somebody who grew up Republican to look at this and all of a sudden listen. It makes me realize that maybe I was kind of misguided.
Well, there was a Democrat who a lot of people blame for the assassination. I don't think there's any proof that Lyndon Johnson really did it. Was behind it, but there are a lot of people who really believe he was.
Well, even if he wasn't, how do we protect somebody who's different?
Well, cut it out, Barbara. How silly. How to protect someone who's different, like you protect someone who's not different. Get off the phone, you sicko. What a jerk. How do you protect someone who's different? Oh, my God. I got to get out of here. I'm sick and tired of talking to sick people like that jerk was just on the line. He's different. How do we protect him? Barbara, you need a good douche in the head.
A comment on the caller who talked about this.
Yeah, but you know, Barbara represents the danger of the movie JFK.
I know. I think what she was trying to say, Bob, was that anyone who has bucked the establishment and who's...
All right, where did Jack Kennedy buck the establishment?
Well, I'm not...
Come on, tell me where he bucked the establishment. Tell me where he... No, forget about King. Tell me where Jack Kennedy bucked the establishment.
Well, I'm not too well versed on that.
No. You're buying into her specious fantasy, and you say you're not too well versed. Just tell me where he bucked the establishment.
I'm really.
Okay, goodbye. Why waste time? See, that's the trouble. That's why I was upset about this movie JFK, because if people were intelligent and had some ability to think, JFK would not be the dangerous movie that it is.
You were perplexed about why kids would want to get high. There was a caller that called in and seemed to give what seemed to be a reasonable answer. I'm not a drug user. He was. And he said the reason that kids want to get high is that it just makes them feel good. And he compared it to the act of having sex. You kind of shut him down before.
He wasn't saying kids. It makes kids feel good. He said that was why he did it. He compared it to sex. He was speaking for himself.
Yes.
Okay.
But you were asking for a reasonable answer about, you were perplexed. Gee, why? And he offered an answer to your perplexed state, which is, gee, I can tell you what it does for me, and it seems reasonable.
I still ask that question. Question. Knowing full well the consequences, is life that bereft of meaning? Is life that useless? Is life that worthless? Are we so sorry we were born? I mean, it's such a short span at best anyway. Why are you taking me to task for that?
Because I think that I'd like to answer your question that you posed yesterday.
Yeah. What are you, some authority, pal?
No, it just seems that whenever anybody opposes you, Bob, you like to shut them down like you're doing to me. I'm very calm.
But I don't care if you're calm. I'm me. And I'm sitting here for almost 4 hours, and I'm talking to people one right after another, and then I get a supercilious, arrogant oaf like you on the line, and I have no patience for that.
Well, why am I'm not arrogant, Bob.
Oh, you are. You have a supercilious attitude about yourself. Such a self-righteous. What are you, some authority? Are you a pharmacologist? What are you?
I'm just not. No, I'm not an authority. I'm just someone who's offering another opinion.
Oh, you're insipid. He told you why, Bob, and you shut him down. If I shut him down, how do you know what he said? I'm amazed at people like you who claim I shut somebody, to use your phrase, down. Now, if I did, you wouldn't know what he said, would you?
No, up to the point that he was speaking, I heard what he said, and then you got angry with him.
You bet I did.
You hung up the phone.
You bet I did.
And I'm just saying, Bob, that it seems like you do that to anyone who offers a perspective that
well, that's too damn bad. Don't listen to the program then, if it bothers you. Did that ever occur to you?
Sure it did. But what I'd like to do is to still offer another perspective. And if you want to shut me down as well...
All right, what else do you want to say? Did you say what you wanted to say?
I was almost done. I had one more thing to say.
Well, fine, say it.
And that is that when you live in poverty and squalor and depression, then those sorts of things, making one feel good, is much more important and much more critical than when you don't see hope and light at the end of the tunnel. And that that's possibly what drives these kids to do it. I'm not justifying it. I think it's wrong. But I'm just trying to find an answer. And I think that might be the answer. And if we focus on that, we might be able to find a solution.
I knew that was what you were going to say. Thank you very much for the bromide. Thank you for the cliches. You've strung them together very nicely.
You know, this Super Tuesday, this is really a joke. This is the most boring, total exercise in futility because, as usual, I think the Democrats have trotted out another group, especially led by this slick Willie, who lack character. If we look at Gary Hart, Jesse Jackson, Jim Wright, Alan Cranston, Barney Frank, Marion Barry, the men's room attendant from 21, etc., their biggest flaw in all of these people is their character. I mean, doesn't anybody see that? And how is that not the biggest issue? Yes, I agree with you. You have to hold your nose and pull the lever for George Bush. If it was on only one issue, it's a question of the man's character. His character is above reproach. And that is the difference, and that's why the Democrats are out there in the breeze. I swear, my grandmother
was our literature class. We read Elie Wiesel's book, and we also had to read one by an African gentleman. And
well, who was that?
I forget the name of the book. I want to say Black Boy, but I don't think it was.
Now, was it really an African, or was it
supposedly
an American
but
black?
Yeah, but whatever.
No, really, seriously.
I mean, really can't.
What African? Where do they write? Where do they write literature in Africa? I want to know.
Well, I really wish I could answer you, but what had happened?
Did the guy write in Nairobi? Did he write in Lagos?
I believe he came from Kenya.
Well, that's
which
Nairobi.
Is quite a large city.
And I want to express my outrage at the remarks that Charles Barkley made.
Charles Barkley has got to be one of the biggest, no-good, racist scumbags on the face of the earth.
Well, I don't know too much about him, although I probably...
And, you know, they look the other way. He defecates all over them down there in Philadelphia, and they look the other way.
Why does the press persist in allowing...
And what he's saying now is, not only is it crude, not only is it absolutely absurd, it's just not true at all.
Bob, let me ask you, and I'm quoting now, all right, I'm quoting, what is a 90s nigger as opposed to any other type? Can you explain that, Bob?
Well, I think what he's saying when he says, hey, they're dealing with a 90s nigger, that's supposed to mean, he goes on to say, we're not going to do what you want, we're going to do what we want.
Have Al Campanis and Jimmy the Greek been asked what they think of this?
Now, here's a guy, he's getting paid multi-millions of dollars for playing a game.
Right.
And theoretically, if you want to win, no matter how talented you are, you have to have a game plan, you have to have a coach, you have to have a style of play. So he doesn't like something that the coach said, so immediately it becomes a racial thing, a racist thing.
Well, what about the gagazotes that sit in the stands and cheer this jerk on?
Well,
you know,
see,
the Euro-Americans.
Yeah, you see all those white faces out there, and you have to have contempt for those white jerks. You know why?
I do.
Because Charles Barkley is calling them all kinds of names all the time.
And they're cheering.
And they're going into the forum down there in Philadelphia, paying their money, paying a lot of money so that he can get paid that big salary.
And spout his trash. One other thing, Bob.
Some of your views are so different than, I mean, you seem to agree on Buchanan on a lot of stuff, but then you criticize him, and you're going along with a liberal like Brown. I don't understand it.
Well, you say going along with a liberal like Brown.
Well, you seem to talk better about.
Well, I like his flat tax proposal.
That's the only one issue.
Yeah,
you're a one-issue person.
No, but it's a very important issue. It's a dramatic breakthrough. If we could get it passed, I think it would help to spur the economy more than any other issue I've heard.
But okay,
as far as Pat Buchanan is concerned, I think he has turned out to be a vicious spoiler. I think that he is damaging the Republican Party. I think he's paving the way for a Bill Clinton. Jerry Brown's not going to be the nominee. I think that Pat Buchanan made his point. I think he could have a great influence on the party. Instead, he wants to rip it apart because he thinks in 1996 he is going to emerge as the candidate.
Okay, Bob.
He's putting himself above the principles he says he holds so dear.
Do you know at Montclair State last February, the February that just passed, Black History Month, they flew the African flag underneath the United States flag?
Well, I'm not surprised.
I don't understand that. Another thing, you're bald and go chase yourself. You gavone.
Why do you say that, Mark?
Because...
First of all, Mark, I'm not bald. I'm not bald. If I were, though, I would be one of millions and millions of men who are. So there's a lot worse things you could say than bald. But why do you say that, Mark? Why do you do that?
Because you criticize other...
You go to college, you work full-time, and you're interested in politics. That tells me you're not a stupid person. Why do you talk that way?
Seriously? Because I wanted to get you riled up to get you going. Because everybody's listening to the radio at my company. So I wanted to get you going.
In other words, you did it for the benefit of some of your pals.
And they hear you. I wanted you to call me a gavone.
I see.
And the one time you told the guy to put his teeth in backwards and chew himself to death, you had me on the floor.
In other words, you wanted me to... Insult you.
Uh-huh.
Well, you know, there's this story about the sadist and the masochist. And the masochist says to the sadist, beat me, beat me, beat me. And the sadist says, no, I won't. You don't get it. He doesn't get it.
The full picture on this caller ID. One, the telephone company in New Jersey has it, of course. It's $6.50 a month to charge. I guess you have it. You know what you pay a month, right? So they make a bundle off it. $6.50 a month. When they give it to you for free, then it would make sense. But the idea they create this gadget so they can make money off it. Like I say again, they get $6.50 a month. So I called the telephone company. Had a lot of people. I called the business, asking for the owner. The owner's not here. All right. Be in later? No, be in tomorrow. All right. Goodbye. And that's the end of that. And all of a sudden, a minute later, telephone rings. What do you call me back for? What's this? They're abusing the thing. They're harassing me. Oh, I got about how many? They're calling me back and harassing me. I'm not harassing them. They're abusing the privilege of the thing, whatever the meaning, the purpose of it is, you know? And then I call the telephone company. Oh, are we getting loaded with complaints? They're not going to tell you that in the paper, of course. They're not going to put a press release on it. But 3 different people I complained to the telephone company about this caller ID. Oh, we're getting tons of complaints on it. He said, what we're eventually going to do, we're going to get a blocker, like the lady said before. And if I have an unlisted telephone number, what good is having an unlisted telephone number if you pick up my number? What am I paying for? I don't, where's my privacy? You follow me? If I decide to call anyone, anywhere in New Jersey, my number will come up if they have the caller ID. And if it's an unlisted telephone number, what right do they have to my number? That's why I'm paying for an unlisted telephone number. You follow me?
I don't want to follow you. You're getting on my nerves.
Yeah, you're wrong. That's why.
No, you're getting on my nerves. It's got nothing to do with whether I'm right or wrong.
You only see one side of this thing.
What kind of life? You know, you must lead an empty life, Tom. Must be an empty life.
Look, you only see one thing.
The high point of your life is...
There's two sides to every story.
You're going to lose your adenoids if you holler much louder. Hey, listen, I know a couple of very good rhinoplasty guys.
Look, if you want
straighten
to get people, these people like the 2 o'clock in the morning, I got to take the telephone off the hook. That's all you have to do. You follow me? That's all you have to do. And this,
I'm getting tired of hearing.
How about a tape machine? The people have tape machines. They're worried about harassing calls 2 o'clock in the morning. Put the tape on it. That's all. Let the call, talk to the tape. That's all. It's simple as that. You don't have to pick it up. Tape machine is another way out of it too. You know. There's nobody. If you're afraid of people contacting you directly, you call you right back. And why should I call someplace? Will you pour me a cup of coffee?
So long, Tom. That's Tom. Very agitated today. My gosh. See, when you live alone and you're alienated from other human beings, you get agitated over nothing. 29 minutes.
I'm calling in reference to an article I saw in the Post today that the anti-AIDS group ACT UP was distributing condoms to IS 70 students in Lower Manhattan yesterday.
That's right.
I find that outrageous. And the most outrageous part of it was the response of the Board of Education spokesman, whose only response was that they have no opinion on who, actually no opinion on the work of independent groups like ACT UP who distribute condoms to our youngsters in these situations. Well, I'm just glad that the Board of Education feels that it's all right for sick, perverse men who think that the right thing to do in life is to have sex with each other and contract deadly diseases are the ones that should be responsible for teaching our 12-year-olds about sex.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you. He's right. James Blastow, I believe, I know James Blastow. Picard. The walking, talking cheap camera. He said the city school brass had no opinion on the work of independent groups like ACT UP. They're afraid of ACT UP because ACT UP are a bunch of maniacs that will do anything, anytime.
I want to talk about the St. Patrick's Day parade.
Right.
So it's a Catholic parade.
Yep.
And why should the gays be allowed to march in that parade?
Well, they're not. The Hibernians have prevailed. They said they didn't want them. It is a parade that is not a publicly funded parade. And the attendant who panders to the homosexual community, probably because he feels that, I don't know, maybe for some reason he has a kinship with the double-gated ones.
Well, you must also, you also have to look at, well, if you can open that up to gays, can the Klan march in Martin Luther King Day parade? Can the JDL march in the Purim Day parade? I mean, they have their own parade. And I guess they were allowed to march if they wanted to. But
even the ACLU saw it.
Well, I think that maybe the ACLU was looking at it that maybe they would open up a can of worms.
No, the ACLU is pretty consistent in this.
Because
look, I get annoyed with the ACLU many times, but one thing about the ACLU, they are pretty consistent. You can't say that about a lot of organizations anymore.
Yeah, but I could see maybe them backing down a little bit because they would open up such a can of worms if they allowed.
You like can of worms? Thank you.
Yeah.
The guy wanted to say it over and over again. People who are in love with cliches. Anyway, here's Richard checking in from, where are you calling from, Westwood?
Wall-to-wall Westwood.
Okay. It is wall-to-wall. As a matter of fact, I hope the folks won't mind WABC. Gerald calling from Brooklyn. Hello, Gerald.
Hello, Bob. I'd like to talk about an incident which, aside from last Saturday's New York Post, got very little media attention. There is a congressional race in Chicago. The incumbent congressman is a man named Gus Savage.
And look what they did to Reynolds running against him.
That's right.
They shot, this guy's, I tell you, Gerald, that's really serious. This guy, Gus Savage, racist, anti-white, anti-Semitic skunk, running against a guy by the name of Reynolds. Somebody shot into Challenger Reynolds' automobile. It's amazing Reynolds didn't get hurt. As a matter of fact, he's got a campaign in a bulletproof vest.
Yeah, and they've been making threats against his wife, too, who works in Mayor Daley's office. She has to have 24-hour police protection. But you know who Gus Savage's real boss is? It's Louis Farrakhan.
Well, that's true.
Do you remember when Louis Farrakhan last came to New York in 1985 and he filled up Madison Square Garden?
Yes, I do.
Do you remember that he said Jews should go into the gas ovens and the whites are devils? And that more recently he's been saying that the Koreans are going to get the same treatment?
Well, you see, he gets a pass because of that wonderful melanin.
Yeah.
That wonderful complexion. That lets you get away with an awful lot.
Yeah. I'd like to tie it in with...
And that's what disappoints me about Jerry Brown. I had I had talked about getting a little enthused over his candidacy because of the flat tax. But upon reflection, how could I want to endorse a guy who panders, who has such poor judgment that he says he'd name Jesse Jerkson as his vice presidential running mate?
That's correct.
So has Jackson denounced Farrakhan? Absolutely not.
Of course not.
Of course, has Jackson denounced Jackson?
Well, nobody's in a hurry to condemn themselves.
But while I was sitting through the news break, I flipped onto the local news, and I saw the mayor on there, and he was, saying how he's not going to march and everything tomorrow. And then right behind him, I see Hatchet Face, right? And she gets up, and she says that she isn't going to march in the parade, either tomorrow, and that we should be more caring and loving and sensitive and understanding of other people's needs, and as far as I'm concerned, for the both of them, if they don't march in the parade, that's good. Nobody wants them in the parade. These people aren't there because they're Irish or anything. They're just there to try to make a political statement. But the main reason that I called up is because a lot of people seem to wonder, I was wondering too why David Dinkins constantly just keeps giving in to the homosexuals. No matter what they want, he goes out of his way to do it. And I was thinking about it, and if you think back to when he first got elected, or I think it was before he got elected, the homosexuals gave him an award, if you can remember that. Okay, they gave the guy an award, and he had to bend over forward to receive it. So ever since then, he's been whatever they want from him because they gave him that award. He just does whatever they want, and I just want to comment on that. And I'd like to know what you think.
Well, what significance does his bending forward do with it? I mean, what is the significance of his bending? Is there a message here, Mark?
No. I just, it's because you ever see the commercials where the car dealers say, "We'll bend over backwards to take care of you."
Yeah, but he didn't bend over backward. He bent over forward.
Right. It was just that particular award. You had to do that, just to receive it.
Was he smiling when he bent over?
Well, I'm not sure, Bob.
You're not sure. The fact of the matter is, the Clintons seem to be immune. They could do anything they want, and nobody cares. So I guess it's on to the White House. Can you imagine this is going to be the First Lady for at least 4 years?
No, and speaking of suitcases under the eyes, I think your reference was to Mario Cuomo.
No, I was talking about Ruth Messenger, who makes Mario Cuomo look cute. Hey, listen, if I had to spend the night in a hotel room, and they said, hey, it's either Mario Cuomo or Messenger, I tell you the truth, I'd take Cuomo.
Well, Bill Clinton...
Because at least we could have a nice conversation. He could tell me all about all the great things he does every minute of the day.
Talk about Mike McAlary's column. I'd like to preface myself by saying that I believe Mike McAlary is a very tortured individual, intellectually, emotionally, whatever. Believe me, I'm not Sigmund Freud. I don't...
You don't have to be. He's obvious. He's easy to spot.
Yes, he really is.
Did you know, by the way, that alcohol is a depressant?
I think so, yes. I'm painfully aware of that. To try and interweave what the ancient order of Hibernian's decision on the gay and lesbian marching in the St. Patrick's Day parade with the Sibylla Borges fiasco, and to try and interweave that with what's going on with the Mets in Florida, to me suggests a very strange and convoluted way of thinking. How one could possibly splice these things together and try and make some type of a sense of a column is to me the height of intellectual dishonesty. I mean, here is McAlary in, I believe, the third paragraph of his column today, and I won't. It's just a couple of sentences. I know you don't like to reading, but I think
if I allow reading, then everybody's going to read it.
This is just 2 sentences. It's really quick, but it's very much to the point. He says this, and this is really very illustrative of what Mike McAlary is all about. He says, just as a group of gay marchers have exposed the ancient order of Hibernians as a group of 18th century bigots, Borges exposed equally ancient-thinking police officials as 19th century sexists. To me, that hits the nail on the head on just where he's coming from. The ancient order of Hibernians and the police and the Sibylla Borges matter all took steps that were within the law, that was within reason, and had a lot of solid legal ground. But yet Mr. McAlary, in his infinite wisdom, and I use that in quotes, doesn't seem to think so.
now what's even crazier is to try and interweave that with what's going on with the Mets, with this woman who comes in.
I know. Listen, you said it all. Mike McAlery is a tortured soul.
Yes.
He must have a self-loathing, which he tries to expiate by virtue of writing these, as you put it so well, convoluted columns. He is truly a tortured soul. I suspect that the photograph that they have of him each time his column appears in the Post was taken many years ago. Not that he looks so great there, but
right.
I'm sure that the life he is leading is taking its toll. And if we could see an updated photo, we would see the excesses to which he finds himself imprisoned.
When he came across Larry King, who I think is an abomination. He's a poor excuse for any kind of a talk show.
I cannot stand him. And I wish I liked him because he does have interesting guests, and I find naturally the format of the program appeals to me because of the nature of the guests. But I can't stand him. I'd like to get some device and put it on my set that would blot out his face, like with the blue, the blue dot that Patricia Bowman had.
Well, Bob, I would go one step further than that. I would like a device to remove him and put you on, because I would much prefer to watch you than Larry King. But I tell you what, I came to the conclusion of where Larry King came from, his original job. When you were a child, did you ever read comic books? I know I did. And in the back pages of comic books, there was a thing for a novelty company. And there was a picture in the back there that had a fella with X-ray glasses. Have you ever seen that?
Yes.
And the fella had a receding chin, goggle lens glasses, protuberant brow, and porcupine swept-back hair. And in the lenses of each of those glasses, there was a silhouette of a young lady in a very extended state of undress. And I had come to the conclusion that was Larry King's original job. And considering his marital track record, I think I may be right. Secondly, now, as regards the men's room attendant, I think really people shouldn't be that upset considering his refusal to march in the parade. For my own opinion, I think he's always been, to me at any rate, somewhat light in his tennis shoes. And considering we're talking about a gentleman with a, as described, a abscessed colon, I really don't find it that unusual that he would be closely aligning himself with the Gaelic contingent.
All right. Very good, Jim.
Thank you, Bob.
That's Jim from Southbury, Connecticut on W. Oh, dear. Why can't I be like other talk show hosts and just ignore phonies? Just suffer phonies the same way I would with anybody else. Why can't I do that? Maybe I'll go to a hypnotist. I wonder if that would work. Let's see. All right, Mr. Grant. Mr. Grant, you are like all the others. Someone is a phony. You know he's a phony. He tells a lie, but you pretend you don't notice it. Instead, you ask, how are you, Phil? How are you, Andrew? And they say, how are you, Bob? And you say, fine. And all's peachy keen with the world. That will be $500, please. Everything's a national level in a little country like Israel, pal.
Okay, Bobby.
Okay. Ah, dear, I don't know. Some people sound like they're gargling with razor blades. Maybe that's what they should do. This, my gosh, I don't believe it.
Yeah, either they have a smoke machine.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Quit smoking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can tell the guy, when a guy smokes and he tries to laugh and you hear that wheeze.
My most valued friend. This is Don Corleone.
Oh, it's that Don. The Don.
Goes without saying. Now, Bob Grant, in respect to our dear friend Leona, I want you to take a deep breath. I want you to relax. And I want you to place your hand in the deepest and the lowest part of your heart. And I want you to answer this question. Do you, the great, legendary king of talk radio, sincerely feel, deep down in the blackness of your heart...
Blackness?
Well, there is a black area. Mostly it's red, but some areas are black.
Not on. This guy's a cardiologist.
It goes without saying. Do you feel, great Bob Grant, that this poor, sickly, tormented woman should be incarcerated?
Yes.
You do?
Without a doubt.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
Have a nice day.
All right. It goes without saying. Zach, you're on WABC. Hello.
Hello, Bob. I'd like to correct something that you said the other day. One caller called in and said that he was complaining about Israel getting foreign aid, and you sort of came to Israel's defense, and you said that they are a democracy, but in doing so, you made a mistake. You implied that the only people in Israel who have the vote are Jews and some Druze. The fact of the matter is that other than in the so-called occupied territories, everybody in Israel, whether Jews or Druze, Christian, Muslim, Arabs, they all vote. And that explains why there are Arabs in the Knesset.
Pal, listen. The most of the Arabs who are active in Israeli politics are Druze. Now, if you don't believe that, you can call the Israeli embassy, you can call the Israeli consulate.
But the fact of the matter is...
everybody
has the vote. I'd like you to correct what you said the other day.
Hey, Zach, take a walk, will you? Phil, you're on WABC. Hello.
I have been contacted by several psychiatrists.
On WABC, it's funny. It's the funny farm time. And people wonder why I want to get out of here.
I want to cover a TV Guide magazine for next week. They have Magic Johnson, a smiling Magic Johnson, pictured with 6 pre-teenage kids on the cover. It depicts him like a hero. Could you imagine this? Millions of this copy of this magazine is going to be sold, across the nation. It's going to be on tables where kids could see it. The picture is politically correct. There's 2 white kids. There's an Oriental child. There's a black child. There's a Filipino child and a Spanish child. And they're all pre-teens. I mean, our children shouldn't have to be, and he's always smiling. I mean, it's just absurd. It's just absurd.
Unfortunately, all he has is the HIV virus, and he could last for a long time, and in that time he could continue to be lionized. He'll be more ubiquitous than a certain individual that comes to mind, but you will continue to see him for years and years and years, because one of the devastating features of AIDS, devastating to society, is that it takes so long until the string is played out, if you get what I mean.
I was hearing your voice, how you wanted to kind of get away, and, heard him talking how much pleasure he was having in retirement. And maybe you ought to do that. Maybe you ought to stop by the Rio, get a thermos of decaf, put up the turnpike, and have done with it,
That's the way you do it. I just head up the turnpike. Why would I head up? I don't want to go north.
Well, you can go to Philadelphia Airport, I guess. Anyway, when you do retire, and if you feel nostalgic and you want to reminisce a little bit, I'll let you finish this one up. I haven't heard you say it in a while. Maybe you could say, on the top of a pristine mountain somewhere, wherever you end up, "Hey, Mario."
Use proprio non sfaccimm.
I love it. Okay. Thanks, Bob.
All right, thank you.
Agreed on anything at all?
St. Patrick's Day, some 2 million, but it really was a sad day in the city. It was a day that the men's room attendant called the blackest day in the city's history. While men of goodwill toasted each other, I couldn't help but think of the men's room attendant at the 21 Club angrily sweeping up those reincarnations. And I understand, Bob, that he had a spot in the parade at the head of the 42nd Transit Sanitation Men to appear in full boom. And he refused. And we are all the poorer for it.
Very good.
Thank you, Bob.
Very good. Okay, Julie, you're on.
I feel that resident aliens, if the United States Army can, or the Air Force, or the Navy can enlist them as seamen, airmen, or plain soldiers to fight for the United States, I feel that New York City can also have resident aliens becoming police officers.
Are you an alien, pal?
No, sir, I'm a citizen. But
really? Where are you from, pal?
What makes you? I mean, it doesn't matter where I'm from. I'm a United States citizen. That's
I guess you're obviously ashamed of your country of origin.
Not really. Right now, I am a United States citizen. I look forward to the
Ladies and gentlemen, notice this guy getting nervous, getting uncomfortable because I asked him where he's from.
I'm not uncomfortable. What I'm trying to tell you is that you are
notice, instead of being proud of the country from whence he comes, he's ashamed because he hesitates to tell me.
No, Mr. Bob Grant, you are mistaken about that.
Really?
Yes, you are.
Prove that I'm mistaken, pal.
Because right now, it doesn't matter where I came from.
It doesn't matter?
It doesn't matter where I came from.
Yes, it does. It does. I tell you, I choose to ask you, and I'd like to know. I'm curious. Are you ashamed of it?
No, I'm not ashamed.
Well, prove that you're not ashamed.
Well, I'm from India.
Well, that's fine. Why didn't you say so?
No, because I don't think that's a concern for any of you.
I like to know where a guy's from.
Okay, I came in from
I like
India.
to know the cut of his jib.
I don't think that's the criteria. What I think right now is that I'm a...
Hey, listen, let me tell you something about your countrymen coming to this country. You know something?
Yeah.
They are intelligent.
Yeah.
They are hardworking.
Yeah.
They do very well in school.
Well, let me say, for the purpose of this conversation, I have to identify myself as a Jew. Now, let me go on and say that about Leonard Jeffries, I've never heard anything that he said. I've never seen any quotes attributed to him, but I hear that he has implicated the Jews in the slave trade. Well, this intrigued me because I wanted to find out if this man was coming from anywhere legitimate or if it was just off the top of his head. So I went to the library, and unfortunately, perhaps to my chagrin, I found several references to Jewish entrepreneurs who perhaps profited in partnerships with the Dutch West Indies Trading Company. Now, I'm not implicating Jews in the idea of slavery, I'm not saying they own slaves, but as I say, I found references in economics.
All right, look, Paul, you don't have to repeat what you just said.
What do you think?
Why are you repeating it? Why do you want to repeat what you just said?
Well, I just want to make sure I made myself clear.
Well,
that, as I said, I'm not implicating them as slave traders.
Paul, I don't believe you.
What don't you believe, Bob?
I don't believe you. I don't believe that you are a sincere person who decided he wanted to check up on what Leonard Jeffries was saying.
Why not?
Why not? Because I think that you are not a Jew.
It's Bob. Wait a minute now. Wait a minute.
You asked me a question.
Bob, that's what...
I think what you...
How can I prove to you that I'm a Jew?
Well, I think what you're trying to do is put the Jews in a bad light.
This is ridiculous. There's nobody more Jewish than me in this world.
Oh, really?
Absolutely.
That's a dumb statement.
Well, why is that
how can you be more Jewish than anybody else who's Jewish?
No, I did not say I was more. I said nobody's more Jewish than I.
Yeah, nobody's more Jewish than you.
No.
I still don't believe you. I think you're...
Bob, ask me anything.
No. Listen, what you are...
I wanted to ask your opinion. If you felt it was...
Maybe you are Jewish, and maybe you're dumb. Maybe there are some dumb Jews after all.
Come on, wait a minute,
because
Bob.
You sound pretty dumb to me.
Why am I dumb? Because I went to the library to look something up?
Because you are making this stupid statement.
Look, if you go to the library and you look in the economics section...
No, you remember your question? Remember your question?
My question was, do you think that it is possibly true that Jews...
Well, you just said you read it in a book, and now you're asking me. You just said you went to the library for confirmation.
Absolutely.
And now you're asking me. You just tripped yourself up.
No, I'm not
if you went to the library for confirmation, why would you call me?
To find out your opinion.
My opinion is that you are a fake.
No way, Bob. Impossible.
No way, impossible.
Can we change it? Bob, look. We're definitely
I think
not
this
hitting
is...
it off on
you know what? You're playing into Jeffrey's hands. You know that?
Why is that?
Why? I'll tell you why.
Please tell me.
I'll tell you why. If slavery began as an institution, as it affected the New World in the 1500s, what has that got to do with anything today? What has that got to do with anything today? You want somebody to listen to you and say, "Aha! See what the Jews have done," and then grab some innocent Jew and do something to him because of what you said?
Is that how stupid people are?
Where have you been, pal?
Oh, wait a minute.
Where have you been?
Let's not hide from the truth.
Let's not hide from the truth. You're just trying to make a case here, and I think you're a fake. You're a phony, and I can't stand listening to you another minute. You're off the phone. Well, I think you're very observant, and of course you're right. And it's an incredible nation we live in where you have more media than anywhere on the face of the earth. You have the most powerful conglomerates, the most powerful array of electronic and print media, and with rare exception, it is all tilting towards one side. And yet the side it tilts for has not been doing that well in presidential elections.
true.
So when a Republican wins, he is really winning despite being handicapped by a media that is obviously biased for the other side.
Well, all I can say, Peter Jennings, if you're listening, take note. We're on to you.
Well, that's it. See, if the people are on to these sanctimonious liberals, these partisans like Peter Jennings, who really has no business coming to our country and injecting himself in our politics, if they're aware, then it doesn't make any difference what Peter Jennings and whispering Dan Rather and, well, Tom isn't so bad. Of the three, Tom seems to be about the fairest. But anyway,
for now.
Speaking of time, that slams the lid on things for today. Remember, I will be gone tomorrow and Friday. Don't blame me for who's sitting in for me tomorrow. Please don't blame me. It's not my idea.
Nice talking to you.
John, you're on WABC. Hello.
Hi, Bob. More wall-to-wall Bob Grant Company out here. It's growing by leaps and bounds, Bob.
I understand while I was away on Thursday, John.
Yes.
You distinguished yourself with a very potent telephone call to another person on this radio station.
Yeah, Frank and I gave him a good old-fashioned left and right, Bob. Something he deserved for a long time. And when you've got the courage of your convictions, it's easy. Bob, I just saw this insipid, blame-shifting, excuse-making mayor's conference on the 6 o'clock news hosted by a men's room attendant.
Yes.
You know, he has the most to gain from this shifting of blame for the condition of this city. And he said the cause of our troubles is 12 years of Republican policies. You know, Bob, this city has been on an economic slippery slope for decades now, and it's just the opposite. The only economic boom we've enjoyed was when this city was caught up in the Reagan recovery of the 1980s. But how long can a city that panders and cowers to the worst elements among us be propped up? When John Lindsay found out that thousands of duplicate welfare checks were being sent out, he directed that nothing be done about it because, quote, we want to keep the lid on. And we all know about those in the Koch administration who are still in jail for robbing this city blind. And now just in the last few months, among Laura Blackburn and Hazel Dukes and Dinkins' closest aide, this city has been robbed of millions. I'm serving on a grand jury in Brooklyn, Bob. In fact, it's on the same floor as Gotti's trial. We just indicted 110 people so far. The case is still being investigated for receiving duplicate welfare checks amounting to the loss of $43 million to this city. This is why we're in constant economic trouble. And between this thievery and crime, which has been allowed to run rampant in David Dinkins-style democratic New York City, that cop-out Reagan-Bush argument won't fly with those of us who vote for reasons other than ethnic background. That limp-wristed little phony...
I'm not laughing at you.
I can't stand him. You know, Bob, one time he was out here. Remember during the war he came out, he pretended that he was for the war all of a sudden when he found out that it was politically...
You mean the attendant? The yeah.
Yeah. He grabs... Some guy was throwing shouts at him and telling him to go back to Manhattan. And he walked over and he said, would you say that to my face? I wish he'd asked me that. I'd say, you got about 3 days, pal. All right. Needs a good shaking up.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
John, I wanted him to give me the frank thank you. Okay. Oh, dear me. When we got a consultant Ben's hair now. I'm not laughing at Ben's hair now, believe me. So let a consultant at Ben's hair now take you through every step of their procedure. You know, I wouldn't steer you wrong. If you really want the answer to hair loss, men and women call 1-800-835-HAIR. 1-800-835-HAIR for men's hair now. Call them today. Dear me. Are the men in the white coats outside? Are they selling good humors, or are they here for another purpose? I was afraid of that.
People wonder why a highly cultured nation like Germany, which produced so many scientists, engineers, philosophers, poets, composers, musicians, and other artists and writers, succumbed to Nazi tyranny. Bob, the original stormtroopers who were homosexual used strong armed tactics as goons and thugs to force their will and intimidate the general population, thus resulting in Hitler and the Third Reich and the horror of the Holocaust. Bob, they forced the Jewish people to wear the yellow Star of David. Well, yesterday, Bob, at the Oscars, I thought it was obscene. Here in America, the modern gay stormtroopers forced all these participants to wear this red ribbon of AIDS awareness. Bob, how many diseases that we have? Leukemia, pancreatic cancer, brain cancer, kidney diseases, diabetes, Alzheimer's, heart disease, strokes that have been with us for centuries and are still plaguing mankind. Yet we must wear a red ribbon for AIDS awareness. It's only been around for 1 decade. What are the color ribbons for all the other diseases? Bob, those host of diseases have been plaguing mankind. Bob, some participants had backbone, and I salute them, like Jack Palance, Anthony Hopkins, Laura Dern, Diane Ladd, for not bending to the will of these gay stormtroopers. If they can force them to wear red ribbons now in the name of AIDS awareness, what next will they force the American population to wear? Yellow stars? Bob, if America doesn't stand up and find its backbone and lets these gay stormtroopers get away, we'll no longer be the land of Uncle Sam, but the land of Uncle Ed.
You know, Robert, this is one of the most cogent telephone calls I've received on the radio from a caller, from a listener, in a long, long time. Absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
I salute you, Bob, because you're one of the few people in the media who aren't intimidated. And I thought it was disgusting, all of those red ribbons for AIDS awareness. What about kidney disease, which killed a relative of mine? It's been around for centuries. What is the color for the awareness of kidney disease and leukemia, which you have been valiantly collecting money for, Bob? What's the color ribbon for that? They've been with us centuries, not 1 decade.
Well, you know, maybe next year they'll want all the guys to tie a red ribbon around their dork. The talking horse, I guess. But that's true. He's right. And God bless Anthony Hopkins, Jack Palance, and the others who didn't succumb to the intimidation of the limp-wristed brigade.
The guys of gay rights. What about these people's rights? They have rights to be how they are, whatever they want to do, and have the right to keep it private.
Well, Richard, let me save you some money. You could get off the phone. Let me save you some money. These people, this queer nation group and all that, they're nothing but hypocrites. And this proves the fact that they're hypocrites.
They don't believe in gay rights. They believe in the gay agenda.
That's right. There you go.
Exactly.
There you go.
And what about the,
hey, here's a guy worried about the money, and he's staying on the line. Well, go ahead. Hey, I'll leave you on the line till we sign off.
I still want to talk.
Yeah, I was afraid of that, but you're making me nervous because, you know, you talk, you stop, you talk, you stop.
Well,
you know that? Why are you so emotional about this?
Well, I just feel like if it's gay rights, these people have rights. And if it's...
All right, how many times are we going to say that?
Okay.
I agree with you. I agree. I think you're absolutely right on target. I think you've hit the bullseye.
Okay, it was nice talking to you, Bob.
I appreciate the call. Call again. Thank you.
I'd like to get your opinion on it and then respond.
You want to get my opinion and then respond? Why don't you just give me your opinion and not play games?
Okay. I think it stinks, personally, because I don't think it addresses the real issue. And conservatives, on one hand, who are trying to preserve Second Amendment rights, have done nothing to stop the proliferation of guns into the urban areas. And I think that the problem lie in non-law enforcement. They're just not enforcing laws that have been on the books for very many years. And it's gotten to the point where the politicians have thrown up their hands in the air and are willing to do nothing but infringe on the rights of law-abiding citizens.
How many guns do you have, pal?
I don't have any.
What are you so concerned about guns? You like to play with guns?
I feel that it's an inherent American right to own one privately.
Oh, peachy keen, inherent the right to own a gun. My foot. Nothing inherent about it at all. Wait a minute.
The right to keep and bear be infringed.
What do you suppose is what is a gun supposed to do? Take you from here to there?
No, what about the recreational aspect of it? And also self-defense. What about that?
Self-defense.
Yes.
How is it that I've gotten along just peachy keen without a gun? I come into this cesspool called New York each and every day. The last thing
That's your prerogative, Bob. But I'm saying, if someone wants to buy a gun
you know
and
what?
meets the qualifications for it, why shouldn't he have the right to buy one?
You're getting on my nerves, Dave. Thank you. Just don't like the way Dave talks. It's so dumb, so stupid. On WABC. Hey, you know what? If I were to make that a criteria for keeping a person on the air, allowing a person to talk, I'd be talking to myself. WABC, hello.
Hello, Bob. I'd like to talk about the federal judge that's heading up the Gotti trial up there in New York.
Yes.
I think his name is Judge Leo Glasser. And I'll tell you, I think John Gotti probably deserves what he's getting, but in my opinion, the judge is throwing out the Constitution and totally mishandling the trial. If I read in the papers, they disallowed all but one of his defense witnesses and disallowed him the opportunity to have and pay for his own attorney. And I don't know how that could be possible in America.
Well, the judge making all these terrible mistakes. If that's true, then John Gotti should be thrilled, because how do you get a conviction overturned? The easiest way is for the judge to make mistakes. So, if you're right, then the conviction will be overturned. Why are you so concerned over this thug?
Well, because I think that there, but for the grace of God, goes anybody.
Oh, cut it out.
No, really.
Cut it out.
We got this guy Gravano, as an admitted murderer, is sitting on the witness stand saying, I murdered because... Wait.
I don't understand you. You mean to say that you're one of these people who are smitten with John Gotti? He has some kind of emotional hold over you?
Well, I'm not a lawyer.
What do you think? Don't tell me what you're not doing. Do you think John Gotti's a nice guy?
No.
Do you think John Gotti never had anybody rubbed out?
I don't think I could say that, but he's entitled to civil rights, Bob.
I'm asking you what you think. I'm not asking you whether he's entitled to civil rights.
I think that John Gotti's getting an unfair trial. I think that his right to have witnesses testify on his behalf is being run roughshod over. I think that his right to his own attorney has been roughshod over.
Why'd you even bother mentioning it? And then I'm trying to explain to you why Bruce Cutler was eliminated. You weren't listening to a word I say.
I understood. No, I understood, Bob. But what I'm saying
all right.
to you...
Did you air your gripe about it?
One more thing, quickly. And the Constitution also says something about unreasonable bail, and the man's been held in jail without bail for over a year.
Because the man is considered too dangerous to be left out, and there are a lot of people who would agree with the judge, but of course, not you.
So just throw the Constitution out the window. That's okay then, right?
Thank you. I really shouldn't be doing this. I have to hear all these dopes. Can you imagine that? The guy's worried about Gotti. Who knows? Maybe he lives on the same block. Solly.
Listen, that movie. You know that...
Oh, wait a minute, Cliff.
Yeah.
You're a fake and a phony and a fraud. I don't want you on the line.
You're a phony yourself.
You two-bit hypocrite. How dare you keep calling me? You said you weren't going to call me anymore, you lying phony. You're dead. You're off the line. He's got a lot of nerve. He calls and gives me a lot of baloney. Then he calls another program and says completely the opposite, talks against me. You jerk, I don't have to put up with you. Yeah.
He probably uses the same chain of thought. Well, he was having sex with flowers. He probably didn't climax. So that's why he can justify his 12-year relationship with her.
On WABC, we're forging ahead. I believe someone earlier had indicated the same analogy. Maybe they met in the same gutter.
Right, United States Senator. Well, before I do, I want to invite you to a rally for one of the more honest people in America, I think, and one of the most truthful, Leonard Jeffries and Al Sharpton. And it's going on at the Slave Theater. And I'd like to know if you're going to come.
Are you kidding? Be in that pigsty with those scum? Get off the phone, you fake.
I'm tired of all these loudmouth gavones calling you up, insisting that you wear a wig. And I was wondering, Bob, why don't we keep them all quiet by maybe someday going on 9 Broadcast Plaza when you're on the show, and maybe have a barber there to actually tell that you don't wear a wig, maybe change your hairstyle, maybe give you just a little trim, and we'll keep them all quiet once and for all.
It doesn't matter. It's not important to me. I don't care if they want to say I wear a wig. Let them say it. I don't care.
I figure we keep their mouths shut once and for all.
It doesn't make any difference to me, Frankie. It's not important.
Okay, Bob. Then
And I want to say this. I was somewhat leaning towards some of the things that Brown had to say, but listening to arguments here and arguments there and pro and con, I thought, and this was my question to you, don't you think that the best presidential two, parties would be Brown and Bush, and let them battle it out? Everybody's making such a big deal out of a primary. But now, can I ask you the question? Do I sound stupid?
You have to make a big deal out of a primary because the primary is the process by which you select a candidate. So right now,
but that's only on one side.
Well, the primary right now is the big deal. And when the general election comes, of course, the general election will be the big deal.
Well, my question to you was, between Bush and Clinton, or Bush and Brown, who do you think would really set these people to thinking, if indeed they continue to think? Some of the, and I say minority.
Listen, I'll answer you this way, Marianne. It was nice talking to you, and I'll tell you something. As long as you don't have to drive, it's okay to do what you're doing. But don't get behind the wheel, Marianne. And, by the way, hoist one for me, will you? Because I don't do what you're doing, Marianne. Yeah, glad you were there, Marianne. It's the happy hour. You put it of a novelty for crying out loud.